Hello, and welcome back to Recreational Records. I'm your host, Josh Hall, and on Season 4, Episode 5 here this week, we have Are the Times A-Changin'? As you guys know, every week we discuss an album with students right here from Georgia Tech's campus. This week's album is a classic from the 1960s, The Times They Are A-Changin' by Bob Dylan. Here to discuss we have...
Hi, my name is Danny Chen. I'm a first-year IE student and I'm from China.
My name is Brock Smith. I'm a first-year computer science student. I'm from Richmond, Virginia.
My name is Noah Smith. I'm a first-year business major from right here in Atlanta, Georgia.
All right, the gang's all here. Let's go ahead and hop right into it. So for our listeners out there who don't know, Bob Dylan is a renowned folk artist who gained his fame in the 1960s for his protest songs and socially conscious music. He grew up in rural Minnesota. His family was pretty lower class. They lived a simple life and owned a small appliance shop. His third studio album, The Times They Are A-Changin', was recorded from August 6th to October 31st, 1963, and was released on January 13th, 1964. So today, we'll be discussing some of the standout tracks, starting with The Ballad of Hollis Brown.
Hollis Brown, he lived on the outside of town. Hollis Brown, he lived on the outside of town. With his wife and 5 children and his cabin falling down.
Alright, so that was a short little snippet of The Ballad of Hollis Brown. If you did not listen to it on your own this week, it's basically a song about a poor farmer from South Dakota who ends up murdering his own family. So the questions I have for you guys today, was poverty the biggest factor in Hollis Brown's actions?
I think poverty plays a factor in Hollis Brown's actions, but I don't think it plays the biggest role in his actions. The most essential part that triggers the tragedy is his desperation of no one is willing to help and no one really cares. The lyric says, if there's anyone that knows, is there anyone that cares? And your empty pockets tell you that you ain't got no friend. It is a snobbish world and people don't care about the life of a poor and desperate man. I think it's the feeling of hopelessness that has driven him to his mental unstableness.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I don't think that poverty plays the biggest role in his lead to mental instability. And I feel like even today, that's not really the core of all problems in our society, and that's often what is seemed to be, especially by media. And I feel like it was more of a personal problem, such as mental instability, that caused him to kill his family.
I definitely agree. I think that poverty wasn't the only factor. I still think it might have been the biggest. I think it's kind of tough to say. But I also disagree with the idea that poverty isn't an issue today. Statistically speaking, the percentage of families with children that are in poverty has dropped by only 2.6% in the last 50 years, which means that Hollis Brown idea that does anyone really care and will anyone ever really help has rung true for 50 years.
But even if the poverty stats haven't fallen that much, isn't there more opportunity for people today than there was in the past?
Alright, we're straying a little bit here from the track, so we're going to go ahead and move on. Our next song today is going to be The Striking With God on Our Side.
I've learned to hate Russians all through my whole life. If another war comes, it's them we must fight. To hate them and fear them, to run and to hide, and accept it all bravely with God on my side.
Alright, so that was a short little snippet from With God on Our Side. For those of you at home who did not listen, Dylan sings about the entire history of America in this track, focusing on the idea of American exceptionalism. This very tongue-in-cheek track is really just meant to point out America's moral flaws throughout its history. So this verse we played really stood out to me regarding Russia and the Cold War, and I was wondering if you guys think that similar indoctrination by the government still happens today.
I think that it absolutely still happens today. Whether it's Russia, China, North Korea, or Muslims, America has always had and still has boogeymen. And it's always been up to the politicians to decide who is right and who is wrong in the world. So that basically the elites are deciding morality.
But we live in a democracy. Like, everyone gets to decide who decides this fate and who we ended up hating. Like, at this point, it's not just one group of people, such as the elites, who decide this. Anyone can be a politician now with the opportunities that we have today.
Well, I think although we are living in a democratic society now, it's the people who holds power, has a higher social class or wealthier, that gains more advantage to be elected as the politician.
Alright, so we're getting a little off track again. Inject another question to hopefully bring you guys back towards the track itself. Who do you guys think should decide what is the morally correct choice for America?
Well, I really don't feel like this is a relevant question to the discussion that we're having right now. I mean, money isn't essential anymore. We all have opportunities to get to this place, like such as college and free scholarships through the government.
But it's categorically false. It costs millions of dollars to run a campaign, and companies with money will have more power over legislators than any voter ever will.
I mean, all these people are equal because they all get the same opportunities through college to be able to get to this position of power and be able to get to this group who decides who is the boogeyman, as we were talking about.
Alright, at this point you are not even listening to us, Noah.
I agree. Thank you, Danny. We're going to go ahead and just move on from this track. We keep getting a little off track here. We'll go ahead and move into the next one. Or maybe we'll just take a little break here, let everybody cool off. We'll be right back with North Country Blues.
They say in the East they are paying too high. They say that your ore ain't worth digging, that it's much cheaper down in the South American towns where the miners work almost for nothing.
Alright, and that was a small portion of North Country Blues by Bob Dylan, of course. So for those that didn't listen at home, this song was about someone growing up in a small American town, and originally mines provided for this town, but as they ran dry and the jobs were lost, the town pretty much just fell apart. So my question for you guys, to keep this discussion a little more on track this time, what do you guys think was the major reason for this mining town's downfall?
I think the major reason is the outsourcing of the mines, so the town doesn't need as much people to work. The company is going to pay people who come from countries like South America for cheaper wages, and this leads to the layoffs and the downfall of the town.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with that. I mean, it's really economic reasons that cause this town to fall apart. It's the outsourcing. I mean, as America has grown, there's no way we can keep up with the lower wages of other countries, and so that's just a way for us to move on from that past of just straight goods-based economy.
I totally agree. Like, the towns described in the song and even towns today are constantly threatened by outsourcing and automation and all kinds of different economic factors that are taking jobs away from Americans.
Well, I can't really agree with that because America's changed from this good-based economy.
Are you serious?
Oh, no.
We just came out of a major recession. The wages for the bottom 80% aren't even keeping up with inflation, and automation threatens most American jobs. It's a major hit to the lower and middle classes,
Well, we've changed into a service-based economy.
which can still be automated.
Well, it can be automated, but at the same time it's not, because you have to have people to run the service-based economy. Because there's services, and that provides opportunities for the lower, middle, and upper class to all come together, and it provides opportunities for everyone equally. And this is what
all
America's
of these are getting
become.
outsourced currently and will be automated at some point.
Well, not entirely. You still have phone calls that need to be, the customer service side needs to be increased, and that is mainly run by Americans. And there's also so many different things that we need today that is provided by people at home, and it can't be provided by people away from us.
The world is more and more interconnected nowadays. Phone calls are made often to call centers in India, let's say, and all kinds of goods can be delivered from anywhere we want.
All right. We are way off base right now. We're just going to go ahead and move on to our last song. Please just hang in there, guys. We just got one more. We'll be right back with Only a Pawn in Their Game.
The South politician preaches to the poor white man. You got more than the blacks, don't complain. You're better than them, you've been born with white skin, they explain. And the Negro's name is used, it is plain, for the politician's gain as he rises to fame. and the poor white remains on the caboose of the train. So it ain't him to blame, he's only a pawn in their game.
Alright, so that was Only a Pawn in Their Game. For those that didn't listen at home, as always, this song is about Medgar Evers' murder, as well as a lot of the societal issues from Bob Dylan's time that he's trying to discuss. To keep this discussion for this song on track for once, I just have one simple question for you guys. What is Dylan trying to say?
I think Dylan's trying to say that everyone is just kind of following the system that's put in place by our country's leaders, and that while they may commit some heinous acts, it's not always entirely their fault, and there's some fault that lies with their surroundings.
Yeah, I agree. People are just a pawn of the government's game. I think a lot of issues of the society are basically institutionalized, and people follow what they are led.
I mean, I think it's more individual than what you are saying. I think a lot of times the people are to blame, and it's not the society in general. The problems that we face today are no longer systemic, especially today. And oftentimes people can pull themselves out of the situation that they're in, and it's not society's fault at this point.
Let's try not to bring this back to
Okay,
class.
but class issues, and by extension
Oh,
racial
God.
issues, are systemic. Prices of healthcare and education and other services like that have been rising at a sharp rate, making it unattainable to a lot of Americans. And like Dylan said in the clip, politicians are using this system of classes to keep everyone down.
But politicians have changed. Politicians now, such as the Democratic Party now, are trying to lift people out of like the places that they're in, that places society puts them, and give them opportunities. And in this clip, he's being sarcastic. He's trying to tell people, the white people who are taken out of they're in the spot of racism, that they can get out, that they can escape the place that society puts them in. This is what he's trying to say by this, that people are racist and it's not society, especially now. In today's world, that is how it is.
But that's exactly the point. Like you said, the Democratic Party may be trying to lift people up, but that leaves a system where half of all Americans are being hateful and discriminate.
What? So because I'm from the South, I am supposed to be racist? Is that what you're saying?
No,
is that
people
what it's
are only
supposed to be?
hateful because of the society teaches them to be that way. And that hasn't changed.
Okay, apologies everybody. This discussion got a little bit too heated. We had a couple guests just run out of the room. So we're going to go ahead and cut it short. I apologize. Dylan's album, The Times They Are Changing, is really a timeless piece that brings up strikingly relevant societal issues. And the way I see it, times have not changed because these issues are clearly still being argued. So, for next week, to hopefully keep the discussion a little more calm, we'll be listening to the recently released Kids Bop 39. Thank you all for listening, and we will see you next week.
Come gather round, people, wherever you roam, and admit that